What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again once again, and today, people, this should be a fun one. So there's apparently a lot of people within the Destiny community who don't quite understand my stance when it comes to Trials of Osiris. Now, I thought I'd made this pretty clear, but apparently not. Then again, I have the sneaking suspicion that most of these people don't actually watch the videos, they just read the title and make up their mind based on that alone, without watching the content of the video. So as many of you may know, the other day I put out a video talking about the entitled elements of the Destiny community. People who want endgame rewards without putting in the time or effort to get them, and believe that cosmetic rewards be endgame rewards. I talk about the issues with this, key of which is purely incentive, and for the most part, it was received well. But as I'm sure you all know, people are not allowed to have complex opinions on things. Everything needs to be a caricature. Everything needs to be boiled down. People are not allowed to entertain other ideas, even if they don't necessarily agree with them. You must quadruple down at all times on your opinion and never change, and never be willing to consider different opinions. You must have a closed mind. This is dumb. But because some of the members of the Destiny community want to run around and scream, "The Joker! Didn't you say they should remove the flawless requirement?" and act like fools, let's go ahead and talk about my opinion when it comes to Trials of Osiris. As anybody who's ever watched any of my PvP videos would know, or should know, I believe in a perfect world, Trials of Osiris would be as it was in Destiny 1 or when it came back for that first weekend after the revamp. I want it to be the Wild West where everybody's matchmaking everyone. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. However, we do not live in that perfect world. Even before we lambast players for being entitled and not wanting to put in the time and effort to get good or learn how to play the game, we have to contend with the developer's philosophy when it comes to the game mode. Bungie believes that there's a dichotomy that needs to be addressed within the Destiny community, between the haves and the have-nots. This is something that happens in every game with aspirational content. That's the reason it's aspirational. However, Bungie also believes that the haves should be punished so the have-nots can be uplifted. That's the reality of the situation. We can whine and cry, we can demand things go back to the way they once were, when things were true and beautiful. But that's not realistic. And as it stands, that's why we have a flawless pool. That's why Trials of Osiris changes over and over and over again to cater to players of lower skill. That's who Bungie cares about, because that's who makes up the bulk of the player base. So as I said, and will reiterate once again, in my dream world, Trials of Osiris would be as it was in Destiny 1. We don't live in my dream world, we live in Bungie's. So if the choice is between being punished and watching Trials of Osiris die off because it's no longer appealing to core players, and casual players are not playing because they really have no hope of winning, what exactly is the alternative? What other options can we entertain? When we boil the issue down, the removal of the flawless requirement is the lesser of all evils. You cannot like it, I don't like it, but I also don't like being punished for playing better than, I don't know, somebody in Bronze 3. So we can either stick our heels in the mud and demand a return to a version of Trials of Osiris that we will never see, or we can accept reality and advocate for a version of Trials of Osiris that doesn't punish good players for being good. Those are your options. That's it. You can find it annoying that people want everything dumbed down while advocating for a version of Trials of Osiris that doesn't inherently screw over its largest fan base. The two are not mutually exclusive. If a compromise is to be made, winning 7 games in a row isn't content. It's not even that difficult. People do this all the time. They knock out their 7 games and stop playing Trials of Osiris for the rest of the weekend in its current iteration because they're punished for winning. I don't think that's healthy for the playlist. Casual players are disincentivized to play as well because there's no reward for them. So you have people being punished for being good and people being punished for being bad. Nobody wins here except for people who want to see PvP and Trials of Osiris specifically die off, and changing the Lighthouse requirement from 7 wins in a row to 7 wins period is not giving people a handout. People still have to play the activity. They still have to actively engage in the difficult content. They still have to win. In GM Nightfalls, if you level up, if you use the right weapons and mods, if you take it slow, even if you fail over and over and over again, eventually, you and your team will beat the mission. However, playing like that is not optimal. The same thing with playing 50 Trials of Osiris games just to get 7 wins. Yeah, sure, you may eventually eke out an adept weapon, but it's so inefficient, is it really worth the time? You'd be better off spending your time farming virtually anything else. Now, why is that? Well, just because you got an adept weapon doesn't mean it's going to be a god roll adept weapon. If you want a god roll adept messenger, you're going to be putting some time and effort into that. And players who are not good, who take 20 to 50 to 100 games just to win 7 are going to spend vastly more time in the mode than people who can knock 7 wins out back to back to back to back. But at least this way, players are still playing, they're still engaging, and they still have to win in the hard content. In fact, more so than most people, hypothetically speaking. This isn't a handout. And here's the thing, there will still be lots of people who, even if you change the criteria from just 7 wins, no matter how many losses, who will still be unable to make it to the lighthouse. People who getting 7 wins would require such a time investment, they simply can't do it. But for people willing to play 25 to 50 games just to win 7, people engaging in the hard content, and more importantly, populating the playlist, there should be a realistic chance that they can get something for their time and effort. Just like if I play a GM, if I keep beating my head against the wall, there's a chance of completion. And again, you cannot like it, I don't either. But that's the reality of where we're at. The only reason that I have ever proposed the removal of the flawless requirement is because it's better to remove it than see the mode die because Bungie has it in their head that they need to punish people who are the most enthusiastic about playing the mode. That is about as plain and simple as it gets. It's not hypocritical, and it's not incompatible with pointing out that there's a lot of people who want rewards handed to them and pointing out that this is a problem. In fact, it aligns perfectly. Because it's the only reason that we're in this situation. It's the only reason we have to compromise. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.